Lent is almost here, and it invites each of us to slow down and walk more closely with Jesus. To help you prepare your heart for this season, we created a new devotional called Walking in His Commands, a Lenten Journey with Jesus. It takes you through 46 of Jesus' teachings, showing how obedience leads to joy, peace, and deeper intimacy with God. When you make a donation, we'll send you this devotional as our thank you for supporting Denison Forum. Get your copy when you give today by visiting supportdf.org and begin your Lenten journey with Jesus. Find the link to give in today's podcast episode notes. Greetings. It's Monday, January the 26th, 2026. Thanks for joining us for Denison Forum's Daily Article Podcast. I'm Chris Elkins, narrating today's daily article, authored by our CEO and co-founder, Dr. Jim Denison. If you happen to live in the geographical half of the country that was not victimized by a devastating dose of winter weather over the weekend, please permit me to reflect on the experience on behalf of the half of the country that was. Trees exploded in Minnesota. In the coldest areas, people were warned that they could incur frostbite in 5 minutes. President Trump approved 12 federal emergency declarations yesterday. Nearly 820,000 people are without power this morning. More than 12,000 flights were canceled yesterday. Railroad operations were disrupted. 23 states and Washington, D.C. declared a state of emergency. A meteorologist warned that much of the country would be entombed in ice. And a writer in Austin wrote, "If I were to run, where would I run to? The cold is everywhere, all the way up to New York City." His complaint points to the point I'd like us to consider today. A quote-unquote generational storm like this one is one of the few things that unites us with other people. I got a phone call Friday afternoon from a friend in Pennsylvania who was expecting 13 inches of snow over the weekend. Like us in Texas, she assumed her kids would not be going to school on Monday. Apart from a storm system that spanned 40 states stretching from Arizona to Maine, what else unites us these days? Media has shifted hard to the left and right as paywalls replaced advertising revenues, causing outlets to cater to, quote, passionate subscribers who want their worldview reinforced, not marginal readers, end quote. The United Nations no longer unites the nations. The World Health Organization no longer encompasses the world. Our political polarization has reached an all-time high. From abortion to same-sex marriage and LGBTQ ideology to euthanasia, a record high 80% of us agree that we are greatly divided when it comes to the most important values. In an insightful Wall Street Journal article, Ben Fritz notes that, quote, for most of the 20th century, pop culture was the glue that held the U.S. together. Fritz reports that an estimated 200 million tickets were sold for Gone with the Wind when the U.S. population was 130 million. In 1983, more than 100 million people watched the finale of the TV hit MASH. From the 1940s through the 1990s, 3 TV networks and 7 movie studios decided everything we watched, while 5 or 6 record labels determined what we heard. Nearly everyone saw Jaws and Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and the Harry Potter and Marvel series, or so it seemed. Then came the internet, enabling everyone to make and stream video content and handheld screens on which to watch it. YouTube is now the most popular television platform. As Fritz notes, this is, quote, not because it has the hottest handful of shows, but because there's something on it for everyone, no matter how mainstream or obscure, end quote. Disasters and crises can still unite us. If you're old enough to remember 9/11, you also remember what it felt like to crowd into churches along with people who were there for the first time, to watch the President of the United States throw out the first pitch at a New York Yankees game, and to grieve with hundreds of millions of fellow Americans in the face of such horrific tragedy. Think back to the COVID-19 pandemic and, again, the solidarity we all felt. When my wife and I ordered groceries online, drove our car to the store, and opened the back hatch so the masked store employee could put our food inside, we thanked them with a level of heartfelt gratitude I had not felt for a grocery store employee before. My parents had similar stories about surviving Pearl Harbor and World War II, and my grandfather about serving in Europe during World War I. My brother recently sent me a photograph of our father in his war uniform, standing next to his father, both of them with prideful smiles I seldom remember seeing from either. But the exceptions prove the rule. For people made in God's image and thus for relationship, the atomizing fragmentation of our secularized society is devastating. The U.S. Surgeon General reported that our epidemic of loneliness and isolation directly impacts cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, infectious diseases, depression and anxiety, suicidality, and self-harm. If it takes a storm that endangers 35 states to unite us, what is our future as a united States of America? Behind all that divides us, there is a commonality waiting to answer my question. St. Augustine spoke for us all when he prayed, "You have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee." 13 very disparate colonies in the New World became a united nation only after the First Great Awakening drew them closer to God and therefore to each other. Then an existential war for independence forged their national cohesion. The reason subsequent national crises, such as world wars, terrorist attacks, and pandemics, have not sustained the unity they sparked is that they were not preceded by such a transforming spiritual movement. Our first president, therefore, was right to identify religion and morality as indispensable supports to political prosperity. General Washington's assertion makes sense. If we are created and intended to love our Lord and our neighbor as our highest purpose and aspiration from Mark 12 verses 30 and 31, we will find unity and cohesion in doing both. I cannot imagine that the weather crisis gripping much of our country will produce a national solidarity that endures once the ice and snow have melted. But I can respond to the personal finitude and mortality this storm revealed by seeking greater intimacy with the Lord who still calms stormy seas. And I can renew my commitment to loving my neighbor by praying earnestly for spiritual awakening to transform my nation, and then by sharing my Father's love with those I meet today. In Dietrich Bonhoeffer's Meditations on the Cross, he observed, "The world is overcome not through destruction, but through reconciliation. Not ideals, nor programs, nor conscience, nor duty, nor responsibility, nor virtue, but only God's perfect love can encounter reality and overcome it. Nor is there some universal ideal of love, but rather the love of God in Jesus Christ, a love genuinely lived that does this." End quote. How genuinely will you live such love today? We're grateful for our podcast listeners. If you find the Daily Article podcast helps you better understand today's news and cultural issues and then respond biblically, please rate and review the Daily Article podcast on the platform from which you subscribe. That helps people find and follow the Daily Article podcast.